Who else loves a bookshelf tour? Because I know I do. So guys, I recently got a brand new bookcase, which is right here. You can hear me hitting it, but you can't see it. So I decided that it was time to do an updated bookshelf tour. I did one back in July, I think, when I got the one behind me, and I have this one. I had tons of new books, so I thought I would do an updated one for you guys because bookshelf tours are kind of fun. You can see what books I have and how I have them arranged, which, by the way, is really in no particular order. I had just put books where I felt like putting them. They're not in alphabetical order, they're not in author order. Series are together, but that's about it. Other than that, I've just kind of thrown books where I feel like they should go. It makes sense in my head, might not make sense to you, but now let me show you what books I have. So this is my first bookcase that I got way back in July. It is 5 shelves, and it looks like so. This is my new bookshelf that I just got a couple of weeks ago. It is 2 shelves, but it is nice and long, and I really enjoy it. I'm currently using it as a footboard to my bed because I don't actually have a footboard on my bed, so this works perfectly. So now let me show you guys the books. So this is my top shelf of my big tall bookcase. I have a whole random collection on here. This is eventually going to be my Tamara Pierce shelf, but as you can see, I don't have all of her books. I have read pretty much every single book of hers, but I don't own them all. I'm in the process of collecting them. I also have some other standalone books and series over here that I have fit up here, as well as my 3DS and some random little items. So now I will show you guys the books. As you can see right here, I also have David Tennant guarding one of my Tamara Pierce books, but we'll take him off for now. So the first book I have is Tamara Pierce, Becca Cooper Terrier. This is the first book in the Becca Cooper trilogy. Next, I have the first book in the Trickster's duology by Tamara Pierce, A Trickster's Choice, and book 2, Trickster's Queen. So right here I have the Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamara Pierce. The first book is Alana, the First Adventure. Book 2, one I am currently rereading, is In the Hands of the Goddess. Book 3, The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. And Book 4, Lioness Rampant. Next, I have the first book in the Immortals Quartet, Wild Magic by Tamara Pierce. Next is the Circle of Magic Quartet by Tamara Pierce. Book 1 is Sandry's book. Book 2 is Triss's book. Book 3 is Daja's book. And Book 4 is Briar's book. Right here I have the second quartet. That's a sequel to this one, which is the Circle Opens Quartet. Book 1 is Magic Steps, was one of the worst covers I've ever seen. Book 2 is Street Magic. Book 3 is Shatterglass. Book 4 is Coldfire. And then the standalone featuring those characters is The Will of the Empress. Over here I have some just random collections of books, as well as one of my Playmobil Knights, of which I have many, but we'll move him out of the way for now. First book I have up here is Heart's Blood by Juliette Ramelier, a standalone novel. Next, I have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Then my horribly beat up Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Next, I have The Children of Hurin by J.R.R. Tolkien. Then I have The Final Empire, the first book in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. The first book in the Tears of Artemon series by Sarah Ashe, Lord of Snow and Shadows. Then I have the Kingmaker, Kingbreaker duology, Innocent Mage, and Awakened Mage by Karen Miller. And lastly on this shelf, I have the first 2 books in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. My next shelf is what I call my classics shelf. I always try to display one of my pretty book covers. This is one of the Penguin Drop Caps editions. And I even have over here Jane Austen, my Jane Austen action figure, guarding my shelf and all of my classic books, because of course a classics shelf needs a Jane Austen action figure. Am I correct? I know. The first book that I currently have on display right now is The Wreath, Kristen Larvenstatter, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, by Sigrid Undstedt. This is one of the Penguin Drop Cap editions. I absolutely love these editions. They have beautiful colored pages. See how they're colored purple, and the spines are also similarly as gorgeous. They look like this. Absolutely love these, and I have not read this one yet, but I'm quite looking forward to. First, I have Jane Austen, The Complete Novels Bind Up. It has all of her novels in this one collection. Next is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. The Sonnets by William Shakespeare in the Pelican Shakespeare edition. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights in the Penguin English Library edition. The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, also in the Penguin English Library edition. I'm excited to read this one. Next is Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, and also in the Penguin English Library edition. This is one of my favorites. I love the teacups and a teapot. Next is Bleak House by Charles Dickens in the Penguin Clothbound edition. A Christmas Carol and Other Writings by Charles Dickens, also in the Penguin Clothbound edition. And then I have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, also in the Penguin Clothbound edition. Next on my shelf is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, one of my all-time favorite classic books. This is from the Barnes & Noble's Leatherbound collection. Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery in the Puffin and Bloom edition. I love these editions and cannot wait to get Heidi and Little Princess. I also have Little Woman in the same edition by Louisa May Alcott. Next up are my Canterbury Classics Word Cloud editions. This is Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. Yes, I have more than one. I actually have a third one that is not on my shelf that is from the 1950s that I also really enjoy. The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. And Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Next up is The Five Children in It by E. Nesbit. This is a children's classic book. This is another one of the Penguin English drop cap editions. I love this one. It's like a steel blue, which is one of my favorite colors. And as you can see, the pages are colored and the spine looks like that. Love these. They're so pretty. And the last book on my classics shelf is Fairy Tales from Around the World by Andrew Lang. This is another of the Barnes & Noble leatherbound editions. I love this one. It is so cool. It just looks so fantastical. So the next shelf down is just a large variety of fantasy books, primarily my Sherwood Smith, Patrick Rothfuss, and of course my dragon books. So now I will show you guys. Right here I have my Zelda and Link amiibo figures. Zelda's actually my mom's, but she said that Zelda and Link needed to be together, so they are together on my shelf. The first book I have is Inda by Sherwood Smith, the first book in the Inda series. Book 2, The Fox. Book 3, King's Shield. And Book 4, Treason's Shore. Next up is the first book in the Kingkiller Chronicles of Patrick Rothfuss. This one is The Name of the Wind, followed by Book 2, Wise Man's Fear. Next up I have the first book in the Chronicles of the Imaginarium Geographica, Here There Be Dragons by James A. Owen. Also on the shelf I have The Still Regarded Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss, his little novella featuring one of the characters from the Kingkiller Chronicles. Now here I have my little winter penguin. He kind of stays up here for the winter, but I'm going to take him down right now. On this next stack, the first book I have is The Bind-Up of Crown Duel and Court Duel by Sherwood Smith. This also takes place in the Inda universe, except for about 400 years later. Next, I have my super cool signed edition of The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. My coworker's husband found this in an airport and she had him pick it up for me. I was very excited. Next is the first book in the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini, ERAGON. Book 2 is Eldest. Book 3 is BRISINGR. And Book 4 is Inheritance. As you can see, I have my Playmobil dragon figure watching over my dragon books. The last book I have on the shelf is The Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights by John Steinbeck's Arthurian retelling. My next shelf is actually my Doctor Who shelf, but I will show you guys a little bit of what I have on here. Of course, I have my Doctor Who The TARDIS mug, Doctor Who The Vault, which is the 50 years of Doctor Who. A fantastic book. I love it. My Doctor Who coffee tumbler in the back there, which unfortunately leaks, so I can't use it anymore. I then have all of these Doctor Who minifigs loitering around my shelf. It has all 11 Doctors, and I absolutely love it. I also have 2 Doctor Who novels. The first one is Doctor Who and the Abominable Snowman. This is a novelization of a Doctor Who episode. I also have Doctor Who and the Daleks. This is also another novelization of an actual episode. Over here I have 2 sonic screwdrivers. I have 10s and 11s. And then I have Doctor Who seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, as well as the 50th anniversary special and a DVD of some of the random Doctor Who specials they've done, and my Adipose stress toy. Now we are down to my last shelf on this one. This is a random collection of magazines, graphic novels, my contemporary books, and most of my unread books. The first book I have over here is Knight, A Noble Guide for Young Squires. This is a cool book my sister got for me. It is full of just super cool things in this book. There's envelopes and pop-outs and stuff. It's a kid's book, but it's just really, really interesting, and I find it to be kind of fun and enjoyable. Next is my Doctor Who The Forgotten graphic novel. Sandman Volume 1 by Neil Gaiman, graphic novel. Fables, Legends in Exile, Volume 1, graphic novel. Amulet, Volumes 1 and 2 by Kazuki Buishi. I love these. I cannot wait to read book number 2. He did the Harry Potter book covers, and I just love this guy's art. The Phantom's Dance by Lisa Howard. Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I haven't read this one or the J.K. Rowling one yet. Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, another unread book for me. Home for Christmas, an anthology of Christmas stories by various authors. My True Love Gave to Me, edited by Stephanie Perkins, also an anthology. The Rainbow King by Chris Ingram. I actually just got this one from my publisher to review. Same with Path of the Gods by James Valrose. Now onto this stack over here. I have not read any of these books yet either. First one is The Arithmetist by Brandon Sanderson. The Once and Future King by T.H. White. I still need to finish this one as well. Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Outlive, the first book in the Baggers trilogy by Chad Lieto. Tales Before Tolkien, The Roots of Modern Fantasy. This is a short story anthology. And finally, Snow Walker by Catherine Fisher. So that is it for this bookcase. Now I will move on and show you guys the books on my brand new bookcase. So this is a layout of my new bookcase. It is at the foot of my bed, kind of acting as a footboard. Up top I have my fake little lamp right there, which I can turn on. Yes, it still has Christmas ribbon. Usually the book I'm currently reading, which in this case is Bleak House, as well as my book, The Happiness Project 5-year journal. Have a little Valentine stuffed animal, little candle, things like that. And then the books are down here, and I will now show you guys those books and what they are. So the first section of this shelf is all of my Harry Potter books. I have all of my first edition hardbacks and then the new paperback editions, as well as some Harry Potter merchandise. These are actually came out way before the movie, so these are the original Harry Potter merchandise. I have my quill right there, which is actual working pen. I used to have paper, but I used it all because I got it when I was 11. My little snitch, and then a couple of snow globes, Harry Potter snow globes, which look like this. This is the wing keys. And then I have the chess game, and they look like that. I've had these for years. So I'm not going to show you guys these books because I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the Harry Potter books are. I have them all in hardbound, 1 through 7, and then I have the new covers as well, which I'll show you the new covers because I like them, and maybe not everybody has seen them. So up top, I actually have 2 of the school books, Quidditch Through the Ages and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I also have Harry Potter, The Tales of Beedle the Bard. And then we have Book 1, The Sorcerer's Stone. Book 2, The Chamber of Secrets. Book 3, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And this one's one of my favorite covers. Book 4, The Goblet of Fire. Book 5, The Order of the Phoenix. Book 6, The Half-Blood Prince. And Book 7, The Deathly Hallows. Moving on to the last section here, I have an assortment of books, including a couple of my box sets. This is also another one of my Playmobil nights that I had mentioned I have a lot of. These guys are just fun. They make me laugh. The first book I have over here is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series, The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. Then the first book in the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. Book 2, The Crown of Embers. And Book 3, The Bitter Kingdom. Next, I had the first book in the Squire's Tales series, which I am in the process of collecting. I have read these. This is the first book of the Squire's Tales. These are fantastic Arthurian retellings. They're really humorous, and they're really quick reads because they're for middle grade. I highly recommend them. And yes, they are known for having horrible, hideous, creepy covers. Next is Book 2, The Squire, His Knight, and His Lady. Book, I believe, 5, which is The Quest of the Fair Unknown. And then I believe Book 6, which is The Lioness and Her Knight. Next, I have my Predane Chronicles box set by Lloyd Alexander, which includes Book 1, The Book of 3, Book 2, The Black Cauldron, Book 3, The Castle of Lear, Book 4, Terran Wanderer, and Book 5, The High King. And I have read this whole series, but I am kind of in the middle of rereading it at my leisure anyway. Next up is my Percy Jackson box set, as well as my Scooby-Doo lunchbox ornament from Hallmark. I love this thing. On the back, there's Daphne and them. So we have Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson the Sea of Monsters, Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse, Percy Jackson the Battle of the Labyrinth, and Percy Jackson the Last Olympian. Okay guys, that was it for the top shelf. Now let us get into the last shelf. Okay, so for my bottom shelf, again, this is kind of a random mixture of books, but I have like most of my nonfiction books over here. But now let us get started on this last round of books. So over here, as you can see, this is another one of my Playmobil Knights. He's quite cool in his little dragon helm thing. First book I have over here is The Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. This is the first book in the Broken Empire trilogy. I also have Book 2, King of Thorns, and I have read both of these. Next is the first book in the Rhaeria Revelations series by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the bind-up of the first 2, Theft of Swords. Next is Rise of Empire, the second bind-up. Then I have Book 3 in the third bind-up, Heir of Novron, and right now we have a Bailey who is apparently going to help us film. Bailey, you gonna do a bookshelf tour? Next I have the first book in the Lunar Chronicles, Cinder by Marissa Meyer, and Book 2, Scarlet. I still need to get Cress. I've read these two, and I will eventually get to Cress. Next is my absolutely beautiful edition of The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This is a wonderful, glorious, glossy, illustrated edition of The Princess Bride, the 30th anniversary edition. It is just so pretty. I can't help stare at it. I mean, look at that art cover. Oh, it's gorgeous. Next, I had the first book in the Parasol Protector series by GAIL, CARRIGER, Soulless. This book is absolutely hilarious, guys. I really recommend it. Book 2 is Changeless by GAIL, CARRIGER. Then I have the first book in the As Far Seer trilogy by Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice. I love this book series, guys. Love it. There is Book 2, Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. By the way, guys, these are the UK covers. You can find them on Book Depository. They're absolutely gorgeous. I love them so much. And then I have Book 3, which I'm getting to this month, and I can't wait, and it is Assassin's Quest. And this one's one of my favorites. Look at that dragon, guys. Look at it. It is glorious. Alright, guys, going down the shelf, there is my last little Playmobil Knight guy right here. Again, we will move him out of the way for now. The first book I have here is the first book in the Lost Years of Merlin by T.A. Barron. This is Merlin, The Lost Years. Then I have book 2, The 7 Songs. I read the series a long time ago and I'm going to start rereading them. I remember them being so good. Next, I have Camelot Burning by Catherine Rose. This is a steampunk Arthurian retelling novel. Michael from Bitten by Radioactive Book turned me onto this, and I believe we're going to be reading it in March, and I can't wait because that just sounds like an awesome combination. Next, I have The Silent Gondoliers by William Goldman. This is a short little novella. It's a really cute book, and I recommend it. Next is super creepy, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. So good, but seriously, so creepy. The Doctor Who novel, The Engines of War by George Mann. This is a book that kind of chronicles what happened to the War Doctor during the Time War. I'm excited to read this and get a little bit more information about the War Doctor. Next is a book that got me into reading, and that is a BFG by Roald Dahl. This is a book that started it all, guys. Next up is the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series, The Lies of Locke Lamore by Scott Lynch. You guys know how much I love this series. If you haven't started it, I highly recommend you do. It is excellent, people. Excellent. The second book, Red Seas Under Red Skies. And book 3, The Republic of Thieves, and my favorite of the series. The last book on the shelf that is a piece of fiction is Fuzzy Nation by John Scalzi. This is a sci-fi book. I just finished it last night. So good, guys. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. 5-star book and recommend it to everyone. And now for my last little section. This is kind of my nonfiction section. The first thing I have here is my book lover's journal. This is a really fun book, a way to kind of record all of your reading and things, your authors, your ratings, what you thought of it, where you got it, things like that. I really, really enjoy this. Next is How the Irish Saved Civilization by Thomas Cahill. I just finished this one as well. Really, really good, interesting, fascinating book. Next is Life of Charlemagne by Einhard. This was written by a monk that knew Charlemagne. Another fascinating piece of work. Next I have Louisa May Alcott's The Woman Behind Little Woman. My sister got me for this for Christmas, and I cannot wait to read this. I think it'll be quite interesting because a little bit I know about Louisa May Alcott is that she was a very fascinating woman. Next is The Middle Ages, Everyday Life in Medieval Europe by Jeffrey Singman. I am excited to get into this. I love little facts like this, learning about how people used to live their lives. It'll be an interesting read. Next is A Short History of the Middle Ages by Barbara Rosenwein. I actually read this as part of a class I had in college. I never read the whole thing, but I kind of want to read through it again because I think it would just be interesting. Next book is Castles, Palaces, and Stately Houses of Britain and Ireland. I got this book a long time ago. I haven't ever finished reading through the whole thing, but it's basically, like it says here, an illustrated encyclopedia of these places. It looks really interesting. It's full of pictures and histories of each of these houses and stately castles, and I'm just so excited to read this and have it and just look at the pictures and dream about one day visiting these places. I just think it is so cool. And last but not least is The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Historia. This fabulous hardbound edition gives the entire history of the Zelda video game series, one of my favorite all-time video game series. Really, really great book. I haven't read it all, but I flipped through it. I will one day read this thing cover to cover. I just think it'd be really interesting to read about the history of the game. Alright guys, that brings this bookcase tour to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of the books that I have. Let me know down in the comments if you read any of these or if you're curious about any of them. Really anything you want to. I hope you're able to stick through the whole thing because I'm sure this will be long, even edited. But it was quite fun to do and I hope you enjoyed it. So guys, until next time, happy reading and bye!